Welcome back, everybody. My name is Zach Shelley, and I am your host of Management Unfiltered, a podcast about everything dental office management. And I'm super excited here today on this episode. I have once again, not only a friend, but a fellow office manager that has gone through a really cool transition in dentistry and has a ton of value to give us today and what she does from day to day. So without further ado, I want to introduce Nicole. Nicole is the office manager at Clermont Family Dentistry. Say hi. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Nicole.
Hi. My name is Nicole. I work in Central Florida. And I've been in dentistry for this February will be 8 years. It's been a great journey. I actually had no interest in dentistry until I moved down here. I'm from New Jersey. So we moved down here about 11 years ago and I had no interest in it. And then I moved down here and the office that I was going to had a little sign that said, learn how to become a dental assistant. And I was like, well, I got nothing else going on right now, so why not? And here I am 8 years later, and I love it. I love what I do.
Awesome. Let's start with that. That's a great question. So seeing that sign, what about that sign intrigued you? You just needed a job, you need to make money, or you're like, I wonder what this is about. I'm gonna just see it, kind of give it a little test drive. Like what intrigued you to actually follow up on that sign in the lobby?
Yeah, so it was more of a I'm intrigued. So
Okay.
when I transitioned down here, I actually had a job. I used to work at Staples, and I was there up in New Jersey. I was there copy and print office manager, copy and print manager.
Nice. Yeah.
And then I moved down here, and I just transferred stores.
Okay.
But I actually got a dentist down here because I go regularly. And when I walked in the first time, it said that, and I was like, that's weird. Like I never thought anything of it. And I, went and had my cleaning, and then I asked them. I said, "What's that sign all about? Like, I don't. Does it have anything to do with your office?" And it didn't have anything to do specifically with our office, other than a hygienist that worked there. It was her business, and
Okay.
she used the space to teach the class.
Okay.
Um, but it was a 10-week program. It was every Saturday from 8 to like 4:35. And when I did it back then, it was just for your entry level
Okay.
dental assisting certificate. And then you would have to work for about 6 months, and then you'd have to
Mhm.
go back to get your EFTA, your expanded functions.
Yep.
And that was just a 2-day course.
Where did you do your EFTA?
So actually the same school.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was working, so I did in order to get your certificate, you had to do so many like clinical hours, an
Hmm.
externship.
Yeah.
So I found an office in Clermont, Central Florida, and I worked still at Staples while doing my hours. And on my last day of my externship, my doctor actually offered me a part-time job, which then turned full-time. And I've been with that same office ever since. So
Awesome.
he actually, I'm very grateful. He was the one who actually paid for my expanded functions certificate.
Doctors, let me tell you one thing. Hopefully, there's a few doctors listening here. We talk about this on almost every single show, and some people are like, "Dang, he harps on that every single time." But it's so important. Nicole, how much difference did that make with him investing in you rather than you having to invest in it on your own?
It made me realize, like, one, I'm working for an amazing practice. It's a private practice.
Hmm.
So the fact that it's not a corporation, not saying there's things bad with them, but
No.
the fact that it's not a corporation and he's
Hmm.
still willing to put that time and effort and investment into his employees is huge. You give so much to the businesses that you work for every single day. You spend more time
Hmm.
there than you do at home with your own family. So the
Yep.
fact that he is willing to invest in you and say, listen, if you're going to give me all your time and you're going to, better my practice and my business, absolutely I'm going to invest in you. And that's huge. It's
Yeah.
it's, it saves your employees, honestly, in my mind. You'll
Yeah.
have very loyal employees.
Yeah. I think loyal is a big word that's been trending around a lot in a lot of areas. I talk about it in my Facebook group all the time. Being able to trust someone too, like the doctor took a chance, right? Like you could, halfway do it and be like, "Yeah, this sucks. I'm not doing it." He's not going to get his money back. So there is a trust factor.
Yep.
But he obviously saw something in you. And let me ask you this question. So with your doctor investing in you, like that obviously lit a fire, right? Because made you want to one, you get more responsibility as an EFDA. Doctors will typically compensate more with more certifications. But how did that light a fire in you to start lifting up and encouraging others and kind of coming alongside other team members in the aspect of the doctor? Because we'll get into the story. You're an office manager now, so you're not an assistant anymore. But I want to see how that fostered your growth getting into that position. Like, did it change the way you thought about other people you worked with too, like helping them get through?
Yeah, so I was it was a very, very small practice when I first got there. There were two hygienists, two assistants, and two girls at the front, and then one doctor. That was it. So when I was doing my externship, I was just, shadowing at first and then kind of getting hands-on with the patients.
Hmm.
And then when I transitioned into my part-time job, it was the team was very open to like welcoming me. And
Hmm.
to me that was huge because
Yeah.
sometimes when you start in an office, it's like, I don't know anybody. I'm new here, the newbie. I'm going to be the one that's scrubbing the toilet, emptying the refrigerator, taking the trash out, not doing anything that really pertains to what I'm looking to do.
Yeah.
Um, but that's not how it was at all. And taking the course and having my doctor, invest in me and in that course, it really it took a moment for me to be like, well, you know, if I can be invested in that much, why can't I help bring my knowledge back to the office as to what I
Right.
learned?
Yeah.
And over the years, it's definitely changed. We
Hmm.
had a team, a small team, but now we went from, they went from 6 people. Now we're up to 22 people.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so it's definitely we've had some turnaround, of course, every office I feel
Sure.
like does.
Yep.
Um, but the fact that he's investing so much, and it's not just his leadership team. He will invest in anybody in the office.
Mm.
That if you see a course, if you see, any at colleges, ADOM's huge for people. It's not just for office managers,
Yeah.
for the team. He'll invest in whatever. If you're willing to bring something back to the office that we can roll out and
Mm.
help him better his business, he'll do whatever. He sent me to a nitrous course, so I have my nitrous certification. I knew
Nice.
nothing about that. So like, and I was the only assistant that had that, so I had to bring that knowledge back into the
Yeah.
office, and then we rolled out actually having nitrous in the office. So
Awesome.
it was, it's cool.
Yeah.
One thing that's really stuck with me, I learned from ADOM, and I use it. I love it. Leaving the ladder down.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the best things I think Adam has like pitched in the organization is like if there's one image you can really look at and think about, like it's that, right?
Yeah.
Leaving your ladder down for the next person to come up. Like, yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. If you're in a management position, leadership position, anything, even
Hmm.
at home with kids,
Yeah.
like knocking those steps out from underneath them is not going to help anybody. It's going to make
No.
your life harder. It's not going to, give them the teaching growing moments that they need. And
Hmm.
I learned that through my experience.
Mm.
I've worked with managers in the past, not just in the dental field, just
Yeah.
in general, that were not willing to teach, not willing to motivate, not willing to uplift. And
Mm.
that's going to really eat away at somebody, and you're not going to have a good team at that point.
Yeah,
So bringing what you've learned and sharing all of that knowledge with your team is only going to make for a better team.
for sure. And it kind of starts with the practice owner making the decision
Mhm.
like how successful do you want to be? And you're only as successful as your team you make. And what he's really started to do is he's seen that the team can bring value. Value is
Mhm.
very, very important. And not only is he, you know, embracing knowledge in the practice because like once you open that door and you're like, hey, if you find something you want to learn about, like when you have the choice to say, hey, I want to learn about this and this is how I can apply it, you now have that team member excited, you have them
Yeah.
engaged in the practice, and now you have somebody that you're not the only one with a fire under their seat. And that's something we talked about at our owners meeting this year is like, how do we get the entire team like super excited about being here for our practice? Like we have employees here that like love to work here, but are they excited about it? Like there's a whole different aspect of that. And that's
Yep.
what you really want to grow is that culture of growth. And we can talk about it like every single episode. It's like if doc, if you invest, and now it doesn't always need to be financial investment. Like you could pay for all the courses for your team, but have no follow through with it and really bring no value with it, and it's not going to make a change. So like what happens when you get back from these courses, Nicole? Like does the doctor like have you come in and present? Like you said you brought back like all the information about nitrous. Like what did that look like when you brought that back to the office, and how does your team perceive it?
So when I call it, I'm sure you've heard the term, it's just a brain dump. Like when I
Yeah,
leave some
absolutely.
sort of class or workshop or something, I literally take like the next couple days to just
Hmm.
review all my notes and kind of put
Decompress.
it together to make sense.
Yeah.
Um, and I meet with my doctor, and anything, that I thought would be useful in our office, or that I think, should be something that we talk about.
Hmm.
We have a meeting, we discuss it. He brings some ideas that he has just from hearing what I've learned, and we
Yeah,
kind of communicate together, and we we don't throw it all at them at once, because that's very overwhelming. We've learned.
for sure.
If you have all these ideas and all these changes you want to make and new things that you want to roll out, yeah, it's exciting, but
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, your employees are going to shut down and be like, I'm not in it. Like, I don't want this. This is, why are we changing all this stuff? It works fine. If it's
Hmm.
not broken, don't fix it, type thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but we have monthly team meetings. So
Cool.
the first week of every month, one day of the week, we'll get together in the morning and we'll close our like first hour appointment. And for the first 2 hours in the morning, we'll have like a team meeting. And this is where we
Cool.
bring anything new we want to roll out, or if people have ideas. This is kind of like our office's brain dump, for like the
Hmm.
month before, of how things
Yeah.
went, numbers, all this stuff.
Cool.
But that's usually kind of how we roll things out as a team. It's a
Yeah,
team
yeah.
effort. It's not just us telling you what to do.
Hmm.
Like, give us your feedback, give us ideas. Let's talk about this. Let's see how we can make this work. Because it also makes your
Yeah.
team feel involved. Like, oh, they want to roll this out, but they want to know how we can help roll it out and how we
Hmm.
can kind of get the ball rolling with it, which
Well, and
makes
you
them
learn.
feel like their ideas and their, what they have is warranted.
Absolutely, and you struck the nail on the head. Like it's a delegation. It's an acceptance of like you can't do it alone. If you don't have an office manager in your office right now, this is for doctors listening once again. You are the office manager, and if you're looking for what's going to make the next big change in your practice, like that's it. Like you finding somebody capable like Nicole can step in and brainstorm with you as the owner doc and say, hey, like these are the ideas, these are the systems that get put in place, and she will be the implementer and one keeping everybody accountable, but the people that actually make it happen are the assistants, the hygienists, the front desk, and work as a team. Like we all do it together, and that's how the office truly grows, is building that culture of like unity, which is super cool. And it seems like you have like been able to do that. I want to dive a little bit into where did you go after being an assistant? So you've been at this office the whole time, so you've done something unique, because it is quite common to like there's courses like with ADOM, like DA to OM, like all these things, but like you took a couple road stops, rest stops off of the side. Like you're still at same practice though, so like you've kind of
Mhm.
made your way around, which is very unique, but it's also super helpful for the doc, because now you really understand every part of this practice. So after being a DA, which you're still once a DA, always DA, right? Like
Yep. Absolutely. That's never gonna change.
no, and I have my EFTA also, so I can relate there of like,
Yep.
having that ability. But like after being a full-time DA, because you started part-time, I'm assuming you went full-time was your next step, correct?
Yep.
Where'd you go from there?
So, I did that role for a good 5, 6-ish years, and then COVID hit. So, we were like, "Oh, yay, great." So,
Nobody has a job.
yay. So, thankfully, my doctor, we stayed open for emergency exams,
Hmm.
just emergency appointments only, and he kept one front office and one DA, and we would rotate. So we get paid like biweekly. So one week we would work 2 days, the other week we would work three, and we would
Hmm.
swap with the other two employees so that at least four of us were able to keep our jobs.
It's a really good idea too.
Yeah. So at that point, yes, unfortunately, he had to lay everybody else off until things kind of opened
Yeah.
back up, and got back to normal. But at that point, I think he kind of took a step back and was like, I kind of have to revamp things. So we had an office manager at that time, and I, was looking to grow, and I actually had a heart to heart with my doctor. I guess you can call it a mental breakdown. So I
Heart to
actually,
heart, great conversation, or it completely fell apart. One of the two, but
same thing.
in between. Yeah, there's no difference.
But I found myself in his office because I came to like a crossroads. So
Yeah.
I wanted to further my career and my knowledge, but in dentistry, there's not really too many routes to take.
Yeah.
So, DA, clinical, hygiene's next.
Hmm.
I really don't want to do hygiene.
Okay. Fair enough.
Props to you guys for doing that, but me doing the same thing day in and day out is not really my thing. So I nixed that. Yeah, the money's great, but it's okay. So then I was like, dentist. That's a lot of schooling. That's a lot of debt. Don't
A
really
lot
know
of
if I want to go that route either.
Yeah, a lot of mental breakdowns too, right?
Yeah. So I nixed that one too. So at this point, I'm like, okay, where do I go now? I said, you already have an office manager. I don't have any office, dental office management background. I want to stay with this office. What's the next step? So we kind of had a conversation, and he wanted to kind of roll out a new leadership team. So we didn't really we had a DA lead, which, I transitioned into that role, and
Hmm.
then our office manager. But the DA
Okay,
lead didn't really do much, other than that's your go-to person if you have a question.
for sure.
So we rolled out a clinical coordinator position. So the clinical coordinator position oversees the entire clinical floor.
Okay.
Then you had the office manager at the front. And then for the front, you had your financial coordinator that kind of was like the front lead that ran everything at the front. So you had 2 point of contacts. You had your clinical lead and your front lead.
Hmm.
And then so the team would report to those 2 people, and then those 2 people would report to the office manager if they can't figure something out.
Perfect. Okay.
So coming up with that clinical coordinator position, it was new for the office. So we had to roll everything out. I mean, we had to come up with a job description, the job duties, which thankfully it was during COVID. We had plenty of time to get that done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we did a whole operations manual. We revamped everything,
Okay.
which was honestly, if you think in my opinion, was the perfect time to do it.
Yeah. You got all the time on your hands. No
Yeah.
interruptions, no patience,
Yeah.
nothing to fog your mind. You had plenty of time to brainstorm.
Absolutely. And you didn't have everybody on the team
Chiming
nipping
in.
and
Hmm.
trying to make it their own thing, which don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but too many hands in the pot can sometimes take away from what you're looking to get
Yeah.
accomplished. So,
Yeah.
but we rolled that out, and then I moved into that position as a clinical coordinator, and I did that for about 2.5-ish years.
Hmm.
And then our office manager decided to leave. And at that point, he was like, well, I still want to have an office manager. So we went through this weird transition of not having an office manager. And it was just
Yeah.
me, you report to me, and that's really it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was, it was a tough transition, but
Yeah.
we made it through, and I learned a lot
Hmm.
because I was really just thrown into it.
What do you think? I'm going to pause you right there because I want to ask this question. What do you think was a key factor in you successfully making it through the transition with this doctor?
The support.
From your team, from the doctor?
Mostly from the doctor at first.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have multiple doctors in our office, but the
Okay.
2 that were there at the time, they gave me a lot of support.
Okay.
And then the team, I hate to say it, but we had a toxic team.
Yeah.
And we went through the transition of those people phasing out and
Yeah.
having to rehire and work really hard to not get back to that.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
So the support of the new team, because we still had team members that, stayed and
Hmm.
were great and fine,
Yeah.
but the support from them was huge because
Yeah.
transitioning into a leadership role from being like an equal,
Hmm.
that's not
It's
easy.
tricky. It's tricky.
That's very tricky.
So let me ask you this question then. So how did you foster those relationships with the people that you worked alongside, right? As fellow coworkers, and yeah, you're a clinical lead, but you're still kind of unequal in theory, or people that may have been assistants at the same time you were an assistant. Now you're up in that level. Like, how did you make that transition and shift and foster those relationships for them to one, they would have to respect you and listen to you on a different level because now you're their boss. How were you able to foster that? Like, what did that look like?
Thankfully, the team that I had that stayed, that weren't part of the toxicity
Hmm.
really like backed me, really supported me, really had trust and faith in me, which in my opinion is huge because if I didn't have that, it could have went and I might not even be at this office anymore, it could have went
Yeah.
south quick.
Yeah.
Um, but having that team, and since I worked real close with the clinical team
Hmm.
and did a lot for them as the clinical coordinator, you
Yeah.
know, having confidence in yourself, that's very important. Now there's a difference
Hmm.
between confidence and cockiness.
I was literally just gonna say the same thing.
No, there's a difference,
Yeah,
but
for
having confidence and faith in your knowledge and what you know, and
for sure.
sharing that
Mhm.
helps you have those connections with your teammates that are like, "You know what? Like, yeah, she knows what she's talking about. She knows her stuff. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I support her 100%." And
Yep.
if I didn't have that, I'll tell you right now, I would not be where I was today. And the
Yeah.
connections that I've made
Yep.
through like outside companies like ADOM and, the chapter and,
Mhm.
everything like that. And
Yeah.
it's just
Thank you.
having those, well, absolutely, having those connections to where,
Yeah.
if you have a question, you can just reach out and be like,
Mhm.
"Listen, I'm struggling with this. If you have time, do you think you can help me out here?"
I think that's a big point you just made right there. Like,
It's
as
big.
OMs, like we talked in a previous episode, if you heard it, like talking about like allowing your OM to fail,
Yeah.
that's okay. But also like recognizing what your OM doesn't strive and like do really well in certain areas or situations. That's where the support of the owner doc, like if you're better at it, like teach them how to be better at it,
Yes.
or or encourage the delegation for somebody on the team that is better than your OM at that. Because guess what? You want your best people and the best things. So sometimes, like, yes, we're well rounded as OMs and we do a ton around the office, but we're not the best at everything.
We're not superhuman.
And we're not supposed to be, right?
No.
And that's
Oh,
a big
yeah.
misconception of so many practices. Like, you're the OM, you should be the best at everything. And it's like, not really. You should have knowledge in every area of dentistry that's going on in the practice and understand the business. But I want my team to be better at me than certain things because,
Absolutely.
once again, it makes me better at my job. So,
Mhm.
being able to admit your areas of fault or that might not be your strong point, or your joy or passion in, like, nobody loves insurance, but I have a really, really good insurance and billing coordinator. I know insurance super well, and I can hang right alongside her. But like, I'm like, dude, I want you better than me at this because I hate it. Like, it's not my jam.
Not
And
me.
she loves it. So there are people, yes. But being able to understand everything. So when she comes, she's like, hey, what do we do on this? It's like we can actually have a legit conversation. So it doesn't mean you're absent minded from these aspects of dentistry, but like docs, it's okay if your OM's like not the number one, like in every single area.
And having trust in your team,
Yeah,
like
100%. Yeah, trust plays a
you
huge role.
how you said, like, accepting failure. We are human, and
Hmm.
I expect me. I mean, I
Yeah.
make mistakes on the daily, but
Yep.
I
Yeah.
expect mistakes.
Yeah.
One, because you learn from them, and
Hopefully.
two, if you're not well, yeah, hopefully. And two, if you don't make mistakes, how do you better yourself?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. One of my friends once talked about, and we talk about this quite often, like when you make systems or you like are pushing yourself, you push it to the point of failure. Because then
Yeah.
you know that's how hard you can push to that point. And once you hit that failure, you say, okay, why did it fail?
Mhm.
So that we can push even harder and further. So it's
How
one of
can
those
we
things
fix it?
like you push it, right? Until you know you can't push it any harder, and then you can fix that section. So
Yep.
I just wanted to make that point because I think that's super important for everybody to know. Like, it's okay. Like, delegation is probably like if you're not strong at one owner doctor, if you're not good at delegating things to your OM, like you need to be. right now, like, if you're not doing that, you're stabbing yourself in the foot. Delegate to your OM.
Coming from me and somebody
Mhm.
who is a doer, I it took forever for me to learn how to delegate.
Yep.
And I I actually just did a like a recording with Adam,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was part of
I
my
saw that.
presentation.
I need to listen to it. I'm looking forward to listening to it. I heard it was
My
really good.
thank you. My presentation, I'm actually kinda really proud of it, but
Yeah.
it's like the first one I've ever done. So, but my presentation kind of focused on that because that's one of my biggest failures is learning
Yeah.
how to delegate.
Yep.
I learned that because I learned from experience that there's a difference between delegating and demanding.
Oh,
You
100%.
know,
Yep.
I've worked with managers who were very demanding, and
Mhm.
that's where your team, that's where your team shuts down, and that's where you don't get the support, and
For
it's
sure.
difficult. But when it comes to delegating, since I was kind of thrown into this role, I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to do it all. Like, I have to do it all. Let me figure it out. Let me do
Yeah.
it, do it, do it. Nope. I got burnt out, and I got burnt out quick.
Yep.
So I learned that knowing your teammates and their strengths and their weaknesses is going to really help you in the end in knowing, okay, this person needs to be in this seat because they're really great at this. This is, they're really fantastic at patient communication, or this person has to be in this seat because they are so detail orientated and they're going to be fantastic when it comes to insurance, or,
Mhm.
and sometimes just switching somebody's seats can make a world of a difference.
Yeah.
If you can recognize your own strengths and weaknesses, knowing who you can lean on,
Mhm.
it's a game changer.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you hit the nail on the head, and I'd like to dive maybe a little bit deeper in this, Nicole. Like,
Yeah.
taking the time to understand what your team members' strong points are in order to make them most successful. So, like, one, it seems like you're intentional about observation on, obviously you as an OM, you're able to know what people's strong points are because you know what their mistakes are and what you're fixing and all that jazz. But it seems like there's some intentionality that's played into that also. Like, what are tactics that you use to really get to know your strong suits of your team members?
As office managers, sometimes we get really, really bogged down, right? And if
Hmm.
your office has a door, you're going to want to close it because you're going to want that time to just decompress and be like, listen, I got this I have to do. I don't want any interruptions. I'm closing that
Yeah.
door and I'm locking it.
Yeah.
Um, my office has two doors on it. They're two like pocket doors. They're sliding doors and
Hmm.
they have locks on them. But my doors are always open. Reason being is my office is in the front of the office. So I'm with the front office staff. So
Okay.
I hear everything that's going on with the
Cool.
front.
I like
So
that.
if there's like a really horrible patient, communication, or there's like really bad, something bad, I know, like, I'm not going to let my team get beat up. Let that
Yeah.
patient beat me up. Let's have that conversation. Like, I
Hmm.
step in and, whatever. But like, since I'm there, I hear the rights, I hear the wrongs, and that's a teaching moment. So as long as you're willing to teach, and again, I want to emphasize teach, not, put
Not
down.
preach.
Yeah, not like this is what you're doing wrong. How
Yeah.
dare you? Like, don't do this next
Yeah.
time. No, like, show them what they did incorrectly, give
Mhm.
them,
Yeah.
recommendations on how it should have been. That's going to change. That's going to change. I take breaks too throughout my day to walk around because I am up front. I do get sometimes my blinders on.
Yeah.
So I disconnect from my work, set an alarm on your phone or something, every hour or every 2 hours on the hour, go take a walk,
Yep.
walk around the office, see if there's anything that needs to be done in the back, see, if there's any issues that are coming up that you can help with, or, making yourself
Mhm.
present
Yeah.
to have that connection with your team members that, okay, I know she's willing to help. I know if I go to her with a question, she's willing to help.
Yeah.
As long as they understand when I need that time and my doors are closed, if it's an emergency,
Yeah.
yes, come interrupt me. But if not, you need to give me that like 45 minutes to an hour to get what I need to get done. But for the
Yeah.
most part, if you are involved in your team and you can, communication's key. If you
Yep.
communicate, you'll learn your teammates. They're going to be more open to talk to you. They're going to be more open to bring you, questions, suggestions, anything to help better them. Because if they
Yep.
see that you're invested in them and you're invested in helping them, they're going to want to better themselves to help
Yeah.
you.
And it sounds like kind of one thing that's on your key points is like setting the expectations. Like you've let your team know, like this is when it's okay and this when it's not. I
Yeah.
think office wide, that's super important, especially like owner doc and OM, like setting expectations and like boundaries on
Mhm.
like how we're going to handle these things, which I ultra love. There was a thing, a point you made of like getting up every hour or 2 hours and like walking the office. And this is something I also do. And I think maybe it's just because really rad office managers have like kind of figured it out now. I'm giving us both a pat on the back. No, I'm not really that self-absorbed, guys. I just,
No.
but it is a really good tactic. I kind of like thought up of this gym on another podcast I was a guest on, and it's really stuck. And I didn't even realize like how valuable it was until he messaged me after. He's like, dude, that's like one of the biggest bombs I've had drop on this podcast because it's super cool. And what it was is I talked about like I get up and I check in on my team like all the time.
Yeah.
And I said, what we really need to understand when I say that is we're checking in, we're not checking on. And there's a difference. So checking in, I will go into operatories and still my team sometimes are like, what did I do wrong? Or what do I need? I'm like, no. Like I set expectations there. I said, when I come in, my sole purpose is making sure you have everything you need
Mhm.
for your day, for tomorrow, any questions that you may need. I'm not checking on. When you're checking on, you're looking for a mistake. You're checking on them that they're doing the right thing. No, we're
Mhm.
checking in with them, with together.
Yep.
So it's very important to remember that tool because that's what you're doing, Nicole. You're checking in. You're not
Yep.
checking on. So if that's one gem that you can really dive from this episode is like that, right? The sense of community, unity, and learning from each other. So Nicole, now like we've dove in a lot, like of kind of like where your whole dental career in the last 8 years has gone, like in the short 30 some minutes. We have a few more minutes. So I want to just ask you like, how are things today? Like we're after COVID. We haven't really dove into like, what does your office look like today? How is everything going? And let's talk about your ADON designations, where you're at with that.
Yeah.
So first off, where's the office? How's it going?
Good. It's great. It's fantastic. We have actually gotten to such a positive, healthy place.
Hmm.
And we're so proud. Our team is just fantastic.
Love it.
We all get along. There's drama, there's none.
Cool.
Which let me tell you, we are thankful because we work with a lot of women. But we have, like I said, 22 employees, and
Yeah.
surprisingly, surprisingly, we have 3 dental assistants that are males on our
Oh,
team.
wow, that's huge. You're
Yeah.
breaking the industry standards right there.
Yes. And let me tell you, they are fantastic. But it's just our team is great. I kind of, back to your point. I know you're asking where the team is, but back to your
Yeah.
point before, there's a saying that I kind of hold myself to, and
Okay.
it's inspect what you expect.
Okay. I like that.
In the sense of, like, if I'm expecting this from my team members and my teammates, I better make sure that I'm inspecting myself and I'm holding myself to that standard as well.
I'm writing that down right now. That's really good.
So if I can't, I mean, listen, if you can't hold yourself to what you're asking your teammates to do,
Hmm.
um, what's the point?
Yeah.
If they see you doing something, well, if she can do it, I'm going to do it. If I'm going to roll in late an hour every day, you're not going to have a
Hmm.
very strong team base, that's going
Yeah.
to be loyal to you, in the sense of, this is the time you need to be here.
Yeah.
But so I just wanted to say that, because to me, that's kind of like what I hold myself to. So
That's so valuable.
but back to the office. We have 2 offices now.
Awesome.
So we have our north office and our south office, and our our south office is growing. It is on the smaller side right now, but it's built out at least for 12 operatories. Um,
Awesome.
so it is gonna be a booming business.
Yeah, it's gonna
So
be a machine.
we're really excited for that.
Are you over both offices?
No, so
Okay.
I'm only at the north,
Okay.
and then we have Stephanie, who's at our south office.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yep. So she's fantastic. And she was from, our North office and our, core team. So she's doing amazing down there. So
Gonna pause you right there too.
yeah.
Anybody that's listening, anytime you're in a transfer of care with a patient and you introduce somebody else on your team, they are awesome. They are fantastic. They are the best. I love just, I didn't even have to preface Nicole on that, but like she just exemplified that there. We have Stephanie. She's awesome. Anytime you introduce somebody on your team, whether you know them or not, introduce them as awesome. They're great. They're wonderful. And just watch the culture flourish and your patient's experience increase. Like it's a really, really good tactic to have. So love hearing
Yep.
you saying that, Nicole.
Yeah. Well, it's I mean, it's true. If you and I'm gonna be honest, Stephanie used and I used to butt heads. We
Yeah.
did. We really did. But um she we put it aside and we're both
Hmm.
like, you know what? We both have the same end game.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we both now like learned, okay, we need to lift each other up and we need to support one another. And yeah, you're great at this. These are your weaknesses, but I can counter your weaknesses and you can counter my weaknesses. So
Yeah.
together, literally, we're unstoppable.
Heck yeah.
And
Yeah.
if your team knows that and you have that faith in your teammates, your patients are going to see it. Your
Yeah.
patients are going to know it. If
For
you come
sure.
in and you're like, oh, this is Stephanie or this is so and so, be careful with her, Well, I feel about her. That's not going to end well for you. That patient's
No.
going to be like, shoot, I'm out. If
Yep.
you don't trust her, I'm not going to trust her,
Yeah.
you know?
Definitely.
So having that structure is big too.
And then last part, let's dive in. Where are you at with your designation with ADOM? I believe we both graduated with our mastership this year,
Yes.
or this last year, because we're
This,
in
yeah,
2025 now,
already.
in Las Vegas, Nevada, which was
Yeah.
amazing. Um, are you on cue and track to get your diplomat this
So,
year?
I might have been sitting on it a little bit,
Okay.
but I'm going to be.
Okay. Awesome.
So I'm really gonna push for it. I'm really gonna push for going to ADOM again this year. I haven't
Awesome.
bought my conference ticket yet, but I definitely want to.
Cool. Yeah.
And I I'm really gonna push for DATOM. I know it's like super hard, but we're gonna get it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get
Yeah.
through it. So
Why is that important to you? The only reason I brought it up is I honestly did not know where you're with it, and I'm always
yeah,
curious. I always ask everybody that I
yeah.
know that's been through this. It's rigorous, but why is that? This is the last question I'll ask you. Why are these designations important?
So for me, mostly it's because I'm pushing myself and hitting boundaries that I never expected that I ever would.
For sure.
Um, I never thought that I would write an article. I never
Yeah.
thought that I'd be doing podcasts. I never
Yeah.
thought that I'd be recording presentations and videos for
Yeah.
ADOM. Like
Yeah.
those are things to where like for me and my personal like check boxes, I'm just
Yeah.
like, holy cow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But the knowledge that I get to share just from my own experiences, you never know who that could help.
Yeah.
So can have, I mean, we can have people in different states that just read an article or just happen
Yeah.
to see an article and they're like, holy cow, wait, I'm going through that right now.
Yeah.
Like, how did she handle this? Or how did he handle this? Or
Yeah.
like, I need to know. And
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah.
So utilizing like, and not even just ADOM, just any type of outlet in general.
Absolutely.
Having that at your fingertips to where you can just like type something in and be like, oh, look at all of these presentations on it, or look at these webcasts on it, or something. And without that, I don't think that I would be where I am today. Because this world is forever changing.
Yeah.
This world is forever growing. Technology is forever changing.
Yeah. It's wild.
And if you're not okay with changes and learning and continuing education and
Hmm.
pushing yourself,
Yeah.
why are you doing what you're doing?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, same goes for me. It's very
Yeah.
similar. It pushes you past your boundaries. You end up being a published author, not just
Yeah.
writing articles, like you're published, right?
Yeah.
And teaching courses, it pushes your boundaries to be better. So docs, little disclaimer with Management Unfiltered is the same with Dental Unfiltered. Like we don't take any sponsorships. None of us are paid doing this. This is what we want to do to make this industry better. So this is not a paid sponsorship by anybody, but you want your office manager to grow, learn, engage, and grow their knowledge. ADOM is a great place to do it. And and my doctor has sent me through all of this, and it's been absolutely incredible. Um, Nicole, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
It's always a
Um,
pleasure.
like I said, Nicole's a great friend, and it's really neat to see her thrive in this industry and grow. And it's definitely not going to stop here. So, everybody, this is the final cut of this episode here of Management Unfiltered, and we will see you next time.